Like it's 6 o'clock, so we're gonna go ahead and call this meeting to order. Let the record show that all members are present. Look at that, that's timing right there. And I think that's all we have for now. We're gonna do the pledge of allegiance when we do our regular meeting. So we'll move right ahead into the work session.
Okay, we'd like to thank everybody for coming out and being a part of our presentation and discussion tonight. Tonight we wanted to basically start the discussion on how we can look at improving our ag program at Washington Community Schools and specifically Washington High School. Over the years, we've kind of looked from afar and seen what Shoals has built at their school with their ag program. There was a group of us that went over in January and visited their farm site for their school. And so we wanted to bring them back for a work session just to kind of talk about what they've created. And then we are going to have our ag teacher, Megan Nolan, and Mr. Holland talk a little bit about just kind of the vision for what we see. We did advertise on Facebook. We live in an ag community with a lot of different ag industry type things going on, and whether ag industry for careers or just ag for hobbies and getting out and learning how all of that works. That's where we're really wanting to take this and to grow the program and just improve it. So we're going to get this in before our regular board meeting starts at 7. So I'd like to introduce the teachers from Shoals that given up time during their spring break to come over and share with us tonight, Ben Kent and Megan Hawkins. So we'll turn it over to them now.
Okay, I want to thank you guys for having us down. Not a public speaker, but got paid pretty good to be here. So I'll say what I'm told to say. No, it's an honor to be here. I want to lead with what we've been allowed to do at Shoals has been amazing. It started with just an idea and a passion, and it has developed into something that's pretty incredible, I feel like, and that's why we're being noticed and get a chance to come down here and talk to you. We've had a lot of other schools come to Shoals and call down, so pretty regularly it seems like we're noticed and people want to know what's going on, how it happened. So that's where we're going to lead. I'm going to do a quick, overrun, and I'm probably only going to get out about 50% of what I want to say, but then at the end, hopefully you guys can ask questions, and that will just lead into more that I probably missed. We've got a demographic slide here. This is not my specialty. Shoals, small town. You guys know where we're at. We're about 30 minutes east of here. There's some of our enrollment. We're running about 600 K through 12. So fairly small school. We don't have much to work with. About 2 to 3 teachers per grade level. Do we have a high school size on that? 181. Okay. Yep. We can circle back to that. Maybe. So pathways, the state's pushing pathways pretty hard, and I came in 8 years ago. This is my 8th year, and pathways were already started in the state, but Shoals, offered 1 or 2. The shop program is what it was kind of called, which I think we all had shop class in high school, woodworking or something like that, and Shoals had that. Do we have anything else? Culinary was going. That was it on that list. There was a shop program and a culinary program. So coming in, I'm just going to start in where I came in. I think that's the best way to start from the beginning. So small school. I got a phone call. I was not a teacher. I had went to BU for 2 years being elementary ed teacher because my mom was a teacher and I didn't know what I wanted to be. So hey, I'll do what my mom did. I left her, right? Can't go wrong there. 2 years in, I'm like, okay, teaching is not for me. I cannot be inside. I can't stand these little kids. I bailed on that, and my parents, joke's on you, you have to do 4 years of school. So joke's on you, I'll do construction. I've already got my major classes out of the way. I'll just have a good time at BU and do construction. So I got 4 years in, 2 years of elementary ed and 2 years of construction. grew up on a farm, so I had that experience and started building houses when I got out of college. Then 8 years ago, the superintendent Scholes called me. She was a family friend, and she's like, "Hey, what do you think about coming in and teaching shop class?" I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. Let me think about it." And I was happy what I was doing, working for a father-son construction outfit and farming with my dad. I had several conversations with her. She's like, "We're not having much luck here with finding somebody that's consistent and cares and all that." So I said, "Well, what do I need to know? Can I go in and see the guy who's teaching?" Absolutely not. You cannot see what he's doing. We want to get away from that. So going in completely green. The only stipulation got put on me was do not let kids run chainsaws. Okay, I can handle that, I guess. So I came in, I told her right off the bat, I'm like, I want to do like a hands-on approach. My experience in high school was the shop class, we built an ice scraper. We sat there with a piece of plexiglass, cut it with a little saw, and sharpened it. That was the extent. I hated it. Everybody hated it. You were only in there to fluff off. It didn't matter. So I wanted to try to do something different there. How I was geared was I felt like society as a whole was changing and people were getting away from the old times, not losing the skills that were passed on from generation to generation that were pretty well given and everyone knew because their family taught them, which was how to raise animals, how to garden, how to take care of themselves, how to do general construction. So first day in teaching, I wrote on the board the essentials of life. That was my overall site for being a teacher. What do you need to survive? You need to make shelter, provide food, and you need water and a good earth with healthy, oxygen and all. So that was my baseline. So how do you do that with what I was given, teaching construction and ag? So it all tied in right together. Where's food come from? Obviously a farm, raising animals in a garden. How to be conservative and treat the earth right was where your water and a good earth comes in, and then construction with shelter. So it all came together. That's all I needed, and then it was hands-on approach from there. Does this line up? Okay. That was yours. Don't skip it. Take a look at some pictures here. All right. So year one, I was completely in over my head, but I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted kids to get back to the basics of life. And it started with, I think, some chickens. Shoals had a unique little situation where we had some property out back that was going to be deemed for future athletic fields, and it was all grown up. So start in bush hogging it off and making way for some agriculture. Chickens were the first thing that came to mind. Get kids experience with animals without a large overhead and easy to maintain. So first thing was to build a mobile chicken coop with electric fence that we could move and start doing that, raising poultry on a movable situation. Then I grew up raising hogs with my dad, so I had that basic knowledge. Even though he got out when I was little, I still knew the hogs were an easy thing to maintain and safe here on kids. So that was next step, was to buy a couple hogs, and it's not too hard to throw some hog panels together and T-posts and keep a couple hogs in it. So we started out real basic with what we had to work with. Okay. In this, so we were inside a lot, but we ventured out. We're clearing grounds. We're adding hog pens. And in the first year there, when we finished raising those hogs, so what's the best way to experience all that hard work put into those hogs was to eat it, right? I mean, that's the ultimate goal of the kids. If they don't understand that you put all that effort into that hog is to eat it. So I called a buddy of mine who had a big smoker, and we butchered that first hog right there on the school property and threw it in the smoker, and we had a big party. I think it was towards the last day of school. We invited the entire high school, and that was kind of our showcase. The first year in was we raised this hog, and we're all going to eat this. So that was back to the basics, understanding where your food comes from. And believe it or not, our kids do not understand where food comes from in general. One of my first things I ever did was I gave an essay deal. I said, where does your food come from? And I got, JC store, Walmart, refrigerator, My mom gets it. I don't, they did not know. And a lot of them pass a soybean field and think that's all green beans, or that those cornfields are all sweet corn and it just falls off into a can. That is not, the agriculture we see is a big misconception on what we eat. So is to break down those barriers. Started gardening. It's pretty easy to put potatoes in the ground. And we had to kind of gear things that were school related. The hardest part about the farm at the school is you've got summer off. That's your prime time gardening. So if you don't put in the effort during the summer, you're not going to have a garden at the end. Let's get to the barn. So 4 years in, this is all just in a nutshell. 4 years in, and this whole time things are progressing. The construction and the ag are working together. We're kind of starting our own business together. We're building picnic tables and shooting benches with the kids. So we're selling products, the things the kids are learning from. The money's we're maintaining our own little business here. Where it's not just building sawhorses and then just pitch them at the end. Like, we can't afford to buy 2 before to just pitch them. So the picnic tables and stuff that we were building, that gets the kids all the experience in the construction, and then we sell that product. So the farm was kind of the same way. As we got more progressed, we raised more animals. So we started selling eggs, which we stopped selling eggs. But pork, we started raising more pigs, and then we started sending them down to the locker and selling hogs to individuals. Also, we'd have hogs butchered and then sell sausage out of the shop room. We take it down to Celestine, and then they stamp it so it's USDA inspected. We can sell it as individual packaging. So this thing's progressing. And then 4 years ago, I got confronted with, hey, we'd like to help you from, whose reference I think it was. They said, we'd like to help you. What's an idea that you have? And I said, I'd love to build a barn. So in the meantime, we're just tacking together what do we have. We found the old softball field fence was off in the woods, and we found that. So we built a hog pen the size of a softball field, and we had nothing in it. We had chain link fence and posts. Somebody buried it all back in there and a long time ago, and we dug it all out, put it all up. That's what we were working with. But to take it to the next level, we need a barn. So we've got some money, 10 grand, what would you do with it? And I said, well, I'd build a barn. So at that point, I had an option to build a $10,000 barn, which you guys know that would not get you very far, or shoot for the stars, built what we wanted, and just hope that it kept coming. So that's what we did. Took the superintendent back to the back. It was all grown up, and I said, what do you think about building a barn right here? And she's like, well, that would be beautiful. That's all I needed. We didn't run it past anybody else, and the next day we moved the dirt out of the way and poured concrete to follow that week. That way the athletics couldn't stop us. So once we got that poured, then we started going. That $10,000 got us concrete floor, the post, and a roof, and then that was all. What are we going to do? Well, before that completely ran up, people are noticing, hey, how can we help? Another $10,000. So we started putting stuff on as far as the siding. And then before that was up, somebody else approached and said, hey, we write this grant, we can get you $11,000. So let's do it. So that's, our community is what's built this entire program. I'd say we're about up to like $160,000 has been donated to the community, from the community, through grants and donations. And so this barn you see up here, you guys saw pictures of the barn we built, but we built this, it's like a plaque, what you guys have in here. And on that we have a gold, platinum, and silver package kind of deal. So individuals, I've had so many people in the community come up, here's $100. Please use this towards your farm. Or getting a check in the mail for $1,000. Hey, can you use this for your ag program? So that barn represents, as many people as we can remember, and there's still, we've got updating to do. We're way out on the people that have contributed, but everybody wants to be a part of this and build the momentum. And then it's not just that, it's not just the monetary, but it's the donations. As far as, we've got a guy who just loves to donate hay. We have hay running out our ears. I could probably sell hay and make lots of money there just because he just shows up with wagons of hay, and we've only got 4 cows right now. He brings 8 bales at a time just because he wants to help, and that's all he knows how to help us with. At the beginning, before we had like a tractor and stuff, we'd have guys show up with plows, discs, work the ground for us. People want to contribute however they possibly could to make this happen. So just you guys having this meeting alone shows the community support, which I had some ideas, but without the community, we'd still probably just be raising 2 pigs at a time and some chickens. So the community is everything. And I think if you give the community what they want, you're just overly blessed and you can do so many things. So passion towards what you want to teach. And, we're here to talk about ag, but it could be anything. The community is behind you, whether it be a sports program or a pathway in the school, the sky's the limit. Where am I going from here? Sales and fundraising. So I'm sure you guys are aware of this. You probably got some programs that sell like the strawberry and blueberry fundraisers. We do some of that. And then obviously our products, we build cornhole boards and penny tables, meat chickens. That's a pain in the butt, but it's really good experience. The kids. So right off the bat, I wasn't sure, raising chickens and butchering all these chickens with kids, what's that look like? Well, you would be shocked. They let, at first there was a few kids. I think in my 8 years, I only had one kid refuse to help. Most of the time, even one time we brought the culinary class out and had a whole team of volleyball players, and they're all like, ew, I just got my nails done. We're not doing that. Next thing I know, they're like sliding gloves on. How can I help? It was amazing. They were all out there. So the construction kids, ag kids, culinary kids, everyone was out there with a chicken in front of them and a knife. And yeah, some of them got butchered so bad we had to piece them out and we couldn't sell them as whole birds. But it's all about the experience. We end up just eating those ourselves. But that's awesome. So we have the chicken tractors, and of course the kids built those. And every day that's the ag class. We try to roast this. They're not doing the same thing every day, but those kids have to go out there and move those chicken tractors, do the feeding, do the watering. So for the last 8 years, we've had a huge group of kids. I don't know the numbers on the hundreds of kids that have experienced raising these animals and then seeing what the outcome is. Recruitment. So no different than a sports team. If you don't start them little, they don't know what the ultimate goal is, right? You got to get these kids dribbling the basketball in kindergarten if they're going to lead you to state championship. So I kind of have that same gear set towards agriculture. If we don't get those kids out there on that farm and we don't get them involved somehow, they don't necessarily want to be in that pathway when they get older. So our big push started with, is that 4 years ago our first? 5 years ago, you were in elementary. Fall field day. It was something we brought back. We'd had it when I was a kid. You go out to the track and you play little games. We thought, what if we twist that towards ag? So we had fall field day. We tried to set up different events. The kids are out there in the barn seeing the animals. If we're lucky, we've got small pigs where they can hold them, chickens, all that stuff they can interact with. Growing pumpkins there at the school so they can pick their own pumpkin. They get some kind of snack that they can see raised there at the school. So 8 different stations, a hayride. Anyway, this went over so well that one of our Shoals graduates who was teaching down here at Washington, she made the phone call and said, hey, we want to bring our kids over. So for the last 3 years, Washington's brought their kindergarten down and got to partake in our fall field day as well. So that's a blessing to us and those kids. They get to spend a day out there on the farm, and we get to see the enjoyment they get from our work and our activities. So yes, recruitment, those kids are seeing what we do, they're getting involved. There's even a corn maze. In the first 2 years, we hand chopped that corn maze. And a neighbor, he had 2 acres right there next to the school. He saw what we were doing. He's like, hey, I'm going to plant this cornfield and it's yours. Do with it whatever you want. So we went out there with machetes, started chopping corn, made a corn maze, and then we've gotten a little better with it over the last 2 years. Now we mow it when the corn's about knee high, and Megan flies the drone, and I got my earbuds in. She tells me turn right, turn left. We take an aerial photo, we draw out what maze we want, and then she tells me where to mow while I'm mowing, and it's made it a lot easier. But that first couple of years, we were chopping all that corn. Then we hand picked it for 3 years. we can't fix that whole cornfield there. By hand shoved it all, and then that's where we used the young ones for. We had a station set up to shell the corn, so they'd all come in there and turn that wheel, so we got some free labor out of that deal. And then Lagodi started coming over too, so it's not just for our kids, but multiple schools coming.
You guys had these kind of part there. Ours stopped after COVID, and so we helped our soil and water conservation district bring back the farm fair. It used to be at the fairgrounds, but we posted at the school the last couple of years.
Yeah, so we kind of took that baby on to make sure that the fourth graders have a place to go and get to see all different aspects of ag, and then that led to the last 3 years. We've been invited down here to the Davis County Farm Fair. So we get to bring our high school kids from the ag classes, and we bring them down here, and we get to set up a booth at you guys' Davis County Farm Fair. So that's neat that we're already interacting in ways that some of you may not even known about. Farmers Breakfast. This was an idea derived from Megan. It was FFA week, this 4th year we did that. So another way to give back to our community, to pull the ag community in, to say thank you, and this is also what we're doing. We have a morning where we cook a big breakfast and invite the community. You guys are welcome to. It's not in county. Anybody who wants to come, we send that out there, ask them to let us know we're coming, and then we just have a big sit down session. Everybody gets to eat and talk a little bit, and if anybody has any questions, but that's a really good outreach. So the Martin County Fair is kind of been dwindling on the animal side for the last few years, and that's where we've kind of got a niche to fill there to help that grow. So we've already got hogs running all over the school farm, and I've got all these kids with interest. So Megan's big, she was a 10-year member and all that, so I didn't have any back knowledge in 4-H, but so she had the idea of like, how do we get the two to merge together? So we started working on 4-H. We started allowing our Shoals kids to take pigs from the farm to the 4-H fair. That way the kids didn't have the opportunity to have an animal, lived in town, just didn't have the facilities. The kids would select, so we really started trying to breed hard for having pigs in December and January. So yes, we're running like just regular Duroc meat hogs, and our kids are not over there competing, but they're doing what fair was meant to be. Sorry for those who are driven on showmanship. Our kids are interacting with the pig, not about this high dollar animal making a show out of it. And they're all going to lose. I mean, they just got this ornery Duroc hog running around. But the fact is, those kids have got time invested in the animal. And then we doubled the amount of swine that first year because we took so many pigs over, and everybody's like, yes, thank you. So the next year was like, okay, now we got to introduce cattle. So now, and then last year, we got Reserve Grand Champion off an old farm steer that happened to have amazing genetics. He was just an old farm steer, but when it came down to judge time, the judge was like, I'm really torn here because this is the best animal in the barn, but he's not a show animal. So that was a really, really awesome moment for us. And the kids, so it's not the kid that shows the animal, they're working with him on the regular, but all the kids are getting that opportunity. It's not, I'll take a class down and maybe this kid's walking this kid's calf to get it ready. It's not, it's like a group effort. Now, the one kid goes to fair and shows an animal, but in the end, all the kids are out there. It's pretty unbelievable. It's funny, you go down and feed, you got half the class fighting over who gets to walk the animals and who gets to do the feeding. And you look out there and you see calves and kids just walking all over the place. So there is a little bit, I guess, danger level there. We're blessed not to have any. We've got some signs that say not responsible for animal bites and whatnot, just to cover ourselves, but you know how that is.
One other thing to add on this, Ben talked about our animals may not be the correct or the quality of show animal, but we do, the last 3 years, we've had a 4-H showmanship clinic. So we talk about showmanship, etiquette, and all that, but then we also talk about animal care. So a lot of these kids, I think that's one of the neatest things about the program, and these kids going to the fair, is because the majority of these kids, they don't live on a farm. They don't have access to this, but they're still able to show because of what Ben's done and ag program done. So it's a blessing for them to be able to have this opportunity because they wouldn't have ever got that at home.
And all that being said, so we've been blessed by the community. It's coming in constantly, the support, and some of these things are just ways that we are able to give back, getting to present at these farm fairs, getting to do the Martin County Ag Day, farmers markets, different community events. Like it's remarkable. It all goes hand in hand. We all work together, and then you see kids who never get these experiences any other way, or what used to go out and see that at least on Grandpa's farm, now they're getting it at school, which I think we're almost at a place in time where that's coming back around, where that's our responsibility as a school to, who would ever thought to introduce kids to agriculture, but that's where we're at, that knowledge is being lost. And so I feel like we're filling a huge gap by doing so. That's something else, is the community coming in and speaking. I'm sure you guys will be blessed with a number of different opportunities to come in and talk with all different sides of ag, not just ag, but a million different things that you could do. Just the other day we had a vet come in and we pulled a bunch of kids that weren't even in ag, and we did sutures. I've never seen anything like it. I think that's the best thing we've ever done. Wasn't even necessarily farm related. We had a vet come in and show kids how to do sutures, and kids are obsessed. I think we created a couple potential doctors out of the deal, just because they're sitting there sewing up flesh pads.
Well, there's a CNA, several of the students were from the CNA pathway that we have at Schultz, and then others were just life skills, just to know how to use sutures. And Elizabeth, she said, I want to be a vet. And she's in the current healthcare pathway, but I think with that experience, she's keeping an idea in the back of her head. She's got maybe 2 options now to consider.
So experience, the ag program is more than, you're not raising kids to go out and become farmers or work in ag business or go that direction necessarily, but it's the experiences in life. You have a lot of kids take ag, may never be in agriculture as a job, but those experiences you can never take away from them. And I think it really helps ground. I feel like there's a lot of that. I've got all these kids in ag and construction. I hope I'm not raising carpenters and farmers, but that experience is never going to take away from them. So I think that's the importance of teaching ag at a high school level. And we don't have vocational. We have the opportunity for kids to go to vocational school, and that's great for the kids that are driven to go to vocational, but for a high school to have these pathways available, and especially if they can take 2 pathways. A lot of kids, they want to go down this road, maybe they want to do computer science, but they love animals. So they can take both of those, get that experience. They're not out anything. You go to college and you want to do 4 years of ag because you love animals, but you find out you don't want to work with them, you're out a huge amount of money, or so you spend money on an experience that you could have got in high school by taking those classes. Future goals, you don't ever want to be stagnant. With a program like this to keep kids involved, since we're kind of started with the foundation, worked our way up, the barn, for instance, that got construction and ag kids all building the barn for 2 years, a ton of different aspects of it. So you constantly try to come up with new ways that it doesn't get old. Like there's some things that you always do the same year over and over, the basics. But for instance, we were trying to do an underground greenhouse to where you use thermal mass that we don't have to use any heating or cooling, and the greenhouse can be year round. So that's something we're looking into. And once you kind of get these ideas, you approach the grants, or people step out and want to do donations. And last year, we've got an awesome new cattle corral. So cows are pretty new to our program, but it was not safe. We had cattle panels and T-posts. You know how that is. You get a couple wild ones, and we've had some rodeos out there, lassoing and jumping 5 foot over fences and just, potential disasters. So we got a grant for a cattle corral and animal handling facility. So 2 years ago, we started our welding program, and they had some projects going, but this fall we got that money acquired. We went out and bought a ton of metal. We've got a really sweet cattle corral that probably most farmers would be envious of. It's set up to handle a bunch of cattle. We've only got 4 to 6, but you know what, the kids got to see what something really should look like. So that, and they got to build it from scratch, so that's awesome. So we were trying to make upgrades whenever possible. One last thing, then I'll open it up. My approach to this agriculture thing, and I think what's made it successful, is when I got to follow my dad around and do things. So this is Reese, this is my 8-year-old. I brought him, he wanted to come down. A lot of times when you're out working with your dad, your grandpa, or whatever, a neighbor, a cousin, the experiences you have of just hands-on, maybe we're not sitting down doing stuff out of a notebook, but he sees what I'm doing, we talk about what we're doing. So I've approached this whole agriculture and construction with that mindset of what it was like to follow my dad around and him to show me stuff. So same way I'd raise him is trying how I'm raising, as a teacher, how I'm raising these kids. I feel like there's a lot of days where I'm more of a father figure than I am a teacher. Like we get out there and we're doing one thing on the farm, and then we're talking about, hey, I got this problem or this problem at home. So it's being able to connect with those kids, and then got a great opportunity with this farm and the shop program to just be down to earth and relate to these kids and be there for them, and then teach them something that can help them the rest of their life. So that's my approach. I'm not necessarily trying to just sell ag, but being passionate and hands-on with the kids in whatever field that is pretty amazing and provides a lot of opportunities. Okay. You never gave me, I've been waiting on you to do the whole question time.
Do we have any questions?
I have a question, I have a comment. The other thing that I remember from our visit, the girl that came in and talked to us, and she's gonna be a large animal vet, and you guys helped her to get AI certified, right? For,
Yeah, got her the class to go
which
to,
I
yeah.
thought was really neat, like to pull all that in together, and then she comes in and she gets hours for her future college because she's doing this.
Yeah, her experiences there at school,
I
yeah.
thought that was neat, and then the other thing that stood out to me was, talking about how they were kids that struggled, like the motivation when you have projects, big projects, and how you use that as motivation for kids to like be in other classes and get stuff done. And
Yeah.
so maybe talk to that a little bit, because I think that was kind of cool, but.
So, not saying this braggingly, but there's a lot of times where you can see where these programs allow these kids to excel in school. It's hard to put a number on, but I'd say there's several kids that these programs have helped keep them in school, or encourage them to straighten up their behavior, or do whatever it took to raise their grades. If we're gonna pour a big concrete sidewalk, you know, they've been out there prepping for it, and they know I'm gonna pour on Tuesday, and they're like, man, I wanna be out there the whole time. Well, how's your grades? And you gotta get your grades up. You gotta go talk to your teachers, and you won't believe what they'll go to get out there and pour a sidewalk just to be a part of that, where they're the kids that have an F and there's nothing's gonna convince them that it matters. But it's unbelievable to go out there and make a kid sweat and make them work. They wanna be so involved with that project that they will do whatever it takes. And I've had multiple teachers tell me, man, that kid did whatever it took to come in. And he said they'd do whatever it took, get their grades up, just to come down and help you pour concrete or help you put the roof on. So that, it's a, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a motivator, yeah, but it's changed the perspective of the whole school on some accounts. A lot of kids have stayed in school that would probably have dropped out, kept them a place to go during the day for a couple hours and blow off some steam or work out some problems. There's probably been a lot of fights avoided even. You get outside and these boys want to start throwing down. Let's talk it out like men. Now's a good time. You don't have that in school necessarily. You can't, the English room, you can't just throw all the desks aside and say, okay, let's talk it out. But out there at the farm, we're working, they don't have time to be getting into a fight. We're sweating it out and talking it out, and that it's been really good across the board for the whole school to have a place, an outlet for those kids that are.
Graduation rates are up, right?
Yeah.
Didn't you say that?
Yeah. We've got a lot of success stories. And I've seen a lot of freshmen come in I probably wouldn't give you a dime for, and then by the end, they've already got a job going out the door, and I couldn't be more proud.
Can you talk a little bit about the number, like your shooting benches you guys made, and your picnic tables, and then You didn't even touch on your orchard or your
Yeah.
walking path.
I told you 50%, 50%.
You're missing out on a lot of good stuff here.
Yeah, well, since so, yeah, I totally spaced that. Agriculture is pretty broad, right? So I'm trying not to keep it narrowed down to, we all see cornfields and bean fields forever. Like, I think that's ag, but, so bringing in the animals, but then, an orchard. So we've got 52 apple trees. Every year we try to plant 10 new apple trees, and just like this year, we were behind on pruning, so kids are sick of pruning trees. We pruned them pretty hard this year, so they get that experience. And then the elementary kids come down and pick those apples, and hopefully one day, as we keep planting, we're gonna be providing a bunch of apples into the cafeteria. That's the ultimate goal, is they really get to see that come back in. The garden too, like try to expand that every year, and we fine tune on what we can grow. I know there's a lot of things we can get out in May, and if we mulch real heavy and do it right, it keeps my summer time down. And then when the kids come back, it's pick time. Like tomatoes and then watermelons, cantaloupe, potatoes, stuff like that doesn't require a lot of maintaining, but then the output's pretty big if we do it right. Especially the watermelons and cantaloupes, we know that 14 large watermelons supplies the whole school for watermelons for one day. So we can go out there and harvest 14 twice a week, bring them up to the cafeteria, and it's fresh right there. Same with potatoes. We found out I think it was 150 pounds of potatoes, does mashed potatoes for the whole school for one day. Cherry tomatoes, we have those, we can provide those daily so they don't split and they're just available for the kids. Was there anything I missed out on? Picnic tables. There's a picture of those picnic tables. So that project, that's kind of how we stay self-sustaining, keep the wheels turning. It's like a small business. But in the winter, what are you going to do? You can't get outside. But those projects where you get to work with wood and the kids get to learn all the aspects of construction on a small scale. But we've sold over 400 picnic tables and over 400 shooting benches just in the last 8 years. Cornhole boards too, that was another big seller that we did. But it really, the kids, it almost like there's a push for a manufacturing. Well, I could almost call producing those things manufacturing to some point once we get the construction stuff knocked out of the way. For a few weeks, I set up like a factory setting, and the kids get experience like assembly line, where this crew's just cutting legs, this crew's just routering, this crew's just prepping the top. So they get experience like that too, and bring that into the manufacturing picnic tables. It's not a factory, but it all comes back around. Maple syrup, we added that. We built an evaporator. There wasn't enough maple trees on the school. I think we only had 8 maple trees. So I called up the neighbor. He lives in California and comes back and forth. He's got 80 acres there. And I shot him the idea, go for it. So the school provides insurance for over there. So if I take kids over there and one of them falls off the bobcat, breaks an arm, he doesn't get sued. But we can go over there and tap trees. He lets us store all our square hay bales over in his barn. That's a good partnership and not everybody's gonna have that opportunity, but for us, it's a great opportunity to bring in lots of extra. There's a picture of the first one we ever did. Cooking that sap down, so the kids got to see that, and overwhelming interest in like, oh my gosh, you're telling me that you get this liquid out of this tree and then it becomes the sweet stuff you put on a pancake, like something that took for granted that we may have known as adults or may not know. But then, to talk about 40 to 1 and to hear kids preach that information to other kids is pretty cool too. Like, oh, did you know that's 40 to 1? We cooked this down. And we came down to the Davis County Farm Fair. We did apple cider pressing. A lot of our apples are pretty ugly. So we got us a cider press and we've been making cider. That way, it doesn't matter how ugly the apple is, we're still getting something out of it. And all the kids are drinking that and figuring out, oh my goodness, you smash an apple up and then squeeze it. This is what apple cider is. We just got a grant for honey. We're gonna dabble in that, get some bees over on the neighbor there and keep the boxes over there.
That's how you met AI.
Yeah.
So I think her experience probably started with AI and kids.
Yeah.
That led her into the cattle, because that's what they want at home.
I wasn't supposed to post that picture on social media, but you know what? Such is life. That's reality. The kids love that too. I mean, some are really grossed out, but
that's part of it, especially these kids interested in going further with agriculture. That's a really good thing to practice on, perfect opportunity where we know our animals are safe and we can show them how when they come into heat and this is how it works. And I think we've got 2 or 3 locals who have bought pigs off of us because their kids were involved in this program and then they're doing it at their house now. So that's pretty cool to see that, hobby farming, that's all the rage right now. Everybody's getting into that and self-sustaining. So kind of almost like teaching a homestead class is what we're doing at school.
Ben, can you talk about the class schedule and how you carve out enough time for the kids to be on the farm? How many hours a week are they there?
Yeah, so my first couple years was traditional schedule. I think we had 8 periods. That was tough. We're looking at like 42-minute periods. And we didn't even have we have a side-by-side now. We didn't. So we would run down there, do our feedings or do what we needed to do, and then we'd have to run back up. Then 3 years in, we went to block schedule, which was awesome. We got an hour and a half. That's pretty much what allowed us to build that barn. I don't think without block scheduling for those few years, I don't know the barn would have been possible. By the time the barn's, what was it, half mile from the classroom, maybe not that far, solid quarter. So getting down there, you're talking 5 minutes by the time you get everybody organized and get down there and get back. So went to block, that was great. That got shut down. We're back to 7 period days. So timing is rough, but you learn to work with what you got. And we're looking in this year to doing a hybrid, like where our CT classes get a block schedule for some classes. So that will give us that hour and a half to do some more major things with our pathway classes. It's going to be interesting because we're so small that getting a kid blocked, missing 2 periods into 1 period or 1 class is going to be tough. But there's definitely, where there's a will, there's a way on all this from top to bottom. And it doesn't have to fit. This is your own puzzle. I mean, you work with what you got and you take it from there. So I think with you guys, what other school has a little bit of property out back? Shoals was blessed to have that. You guys are kind of in town, but there's a will, there's a way. You can get these kids out there and do something. Anything's possible.
You started out by yourself, but now that you have it built up, how many teachers help you with this?
We got a pretty good team. Not everybody's labeled as, like, I'm the ag and construction teacher. Megan is the STEM and engineering teacher. She did teach a couple years of ag, but then her schedule got so full, she had to take away one of those. We added welding 2 years ago, so we've got a welding instructor doing 6 periods of welding. And we have a culinary teacher who, she loves to garden and animals and all that, so there's a lot of collaboration between us 4, and we can all jump in and do stuff together when need be. That's the other thing about animals is it's 365 days with what we have set. If you're just feeding hogs on a full feeder and water, sure, you don't have to check them every day, but what we have set up, we've got sows that need daily feedings, we've got calves that need daily feedings, so I don't mind it at all. It's part of building the program, but I do have an awesome team of teachers behind me. It may not be their job description to go feed the animals when they're the STEM teacher, when they're the welding teacher, when they're the culinary teacher, but they do that. When I'm not able to be there or I'm down or something, I've got a team behind me that's willing to go in and feed. We've got kids willing to, I try to shy away from kids on just responsibility wise. I've done it. I've had some good kids in the past, like really responsible to drive, and I've let them, it's phone calls. It's like, hey, I'm going out there to feed. Thank you. It's 2 buckets here, 3 buckets there. Move that. Please call me when you're done. And then I feel comfortable with that. But a lot of times try to get an adult out there every day to check things and make sure everything's in and safe. Yep.
Did I miss during the summer months, how do you have that set up? Does that all fall on your shoulders to keep things going throughout the summer, or do you divvy that up somehow?
Yeah, so my first 4 years, I just did it because that's what it takes to build a program. It wasn't paid, but That's how you build something, you gotta put in the work. It's not about the hours. And then I was fortunate that the school moved my contract to 260 days, 3 years ago. And I didn't feel quite right about being those extra days through the summer just to feed animals and do farm stuff. So I maintained the farm, but then took on all the construction jobs at the school that were within reason, that didn't need a contractor. So doing construction and for the school, and then doing the ag, keeping the ag going during the summer. So yeah, the school has been really good about, that's helped a lot. The first few years was just, I did it because that's what needed done, and would still, but the school approached me about appreciating what I had done and gave me that opportunity. Now, the ones that fill in for me now and then, they're just doing out of their kindness of their heart.
So, if you had to do over, starting over, if you were starting from scratch, what would you do different, or what would you recommend different, or did you do exactly what you did?
I don't want to say exactly what I did, because that would be foolish, just to say that everything was, but I don't really have any regrets. I've enjoyed the building blocks. Going from start to finish, that was really nice. It's actually a blessing to have nothing and start from scratch. Because I could tweak it whatever way I wanted and build it how I wanted it and make it what we needed it to. Sometimes you take things over, you kind of follow in someone else's footsteps before you can get a different direction. But I feel like the way it went about was a good, steady pace, got more and more people involved, let the community know more and more what's going on, more kids involved. So nothing's been perfect, but it's all been awesome. Yeah, I don't know that I would necessarily change anything. I don't have any huge regrets.
I think the school recognizing his work and getting paid for the summer. I know Ben would do it regardless, but I think for you guys as your teacher, if there are going to be livestock animals, definitely recognize and provide something, whether it's a stipend or salary.
But I try to approach it like any other program, just like athletics. I think it's so essential to build from the top down, and you've got to have younger connections. You've got to have a good team of adults behind you that aren't necessarily labeled, but you've got to have people you can trust and rely on when things get a pinch. You've got to have good backing from your admin, and that's one good thing I had from the beginning was I feel like I was completely supported by admin. They were, what do you need? Or just left me alone, like, okay, you're rocking it, just keep on going. That was another thing. I mean, no chainsaws, that's not much to ask,
I think you guys off that too, and just building relationships. Whoever that program, Ben is well known in the community, so he had a lot of contacts, especially farming contacts, but even employers with the grant writing and Ben contributing, whether it's coming in and just giving a presentation to your students or giving some monetary donations too. And then like what Ben said, it doesn't have to be money. It can be time, it can be equipment, it can be material supplies. Everything adds up and makes the program successful.
Just kind words, that goes, I don't know how many texts you get, people telling you appreciate what you're doing, that goes a long way.
We're down to 10 minutes, and I asked Megan and Mr. Holland to maybe share a little bit, just some initial thoughts on where you guys think this could go. If you guys want to share a little bit on that, on kind of the brainstorm ideas right now. And the reminder is, what year, this is year 8?
Year 8, yeah.
So, they're 8 years in, and just to continue to build and grow on it. What I'd like for us to do is just to get an initial starting point. We've already had various community folks reach out to me wanting to contribute in some way or the other. So, I feel like the community support is there for us to do. And so this, again, was kind of informational tonight, just to kind of get the ideas going. And we're going to continue to build on this idea and see where we can take this for Washington.
Okay, so we obviously don't have anything compared to what Shoals does. So guys, thank you for sharing. We appreciate the tour. Thankfully, the weather's a lot better today.
Yeah.
And,
Well, I'm glad you guys came down. I think
that was
Eyes On
fantastic.
was undescribable. I like
Absolutely.
to do it. If anybody ever wants to come.
It was fantastic. It was really cool. The thing that probably is most impressive to me, he touched on it a little bit about supplying some things for the cafeteria, but it's a full circle. So one of the things Ben was talking about when we were there was some of the leftover stuff in the cafeteria gets taken out. The livestock, they feed it to them. It's just a full circle thing. And then, they talk about having the ability to have a hog roast, and they did, I think at one point you talked about, you did a fundraiser with some meat, and kids got to be involved in it and stuff. So it's just a full circle thing that would be really, really neat. Now, obviously, we know they're on year 8 and we're nowhere close to this. So we thought about some ideas about what are some things that our kids really need at this point. Since Megan's been with us at Washington High School, the biggest thing the most concerning thing that we've had was hands-on experiences. Being on the city block is really, really challenging. So we have talked about multiple ways of using some areas around us, but if that's not feasible, Mr. Frank has talked about some of the land that we had out there and some things that might be available to us. So the first thing we said was a greenhouse. We feel like that is something that's probably the most beneficial with hands-on with our beginning level kids, our freshmen, all the way through. And just my experiences at other places that I've been, that the ag department, most of them have had a greenhouse. And Megan and I have sat down earlier in the week and talked about this. And my thing was, one of the big fundraisers that they did was they were able to they were able to produce a lot of plants, vegetation, things like that. And in the springtime, they would sell it as a fundraiser. And that brought in a lot of money for the ag department to do the various things that they did, whether it's supplies that they were buying or more of whatever. And plus the other hands-on opportunities about pollination and just the other things that can be done with the greenhouse, we felt like was really, really important for us to get started. We've even talked about, I don't remember what the phrase of the small greenhouse, the kind of the pop-up one that we were talking about a couple years ago, and trying to get that going. So in our minds, we kind of felt like this is one of the things that we needed to look at and getting started was that. We were blown away with their trail that leads to their orchard. That was phenomenal. And I don't know, maybe it's because of who I am, but I just thought that was one of the best things besides, obviously the barn and everything that they build and the corral that they had and stuff is really neat. But the walking trail, I just see K-12 initiative there on what can be done with something like that. I have no idea how that happens here in Washington, but I think that if we have a way, we could make something like that feasible at some point for our kids. I think you guys even talked about a hayride for the younger kids through the trail and stuff. The fall is just a wonderful opportunity. There's still excitement in the school year and stuff, and that just builds off of what we're trying to do. I think the work ethic that we're trying to instill in our kids, we all talk about graduation rate, but I think one of the big things about graduation rate, and Ben touched upon this, is what can we do to keep these kids in school and be excited about coming to school? Well, if we had these types of things, we have an opportunity to save even more kids and give them that chance. And then what could they give back to us at the same time as well? They may take that opportunity to know that there may be something that they could provide with their experiences in high school. Like, I was that kid. I didn't want to do this or that, but when I had this opportunity, then I jumped on it and it saved me. I got my diploma and went on to do these types of things. And now I want to share with you how you can make yourself successful with the younger kids. So greenhouse, and I know I kind of went off of that, but the greenhouse was kind of one of our big things that we were discussing. Orchard, that is something I don't think takes a lot other than space. I think once you get it going, then you can start talking about all the different things that can happen from the educational standpoint. I'm just thinking about some of her classes and some of the kids, especially with our demographics. Some of our kids have never been on a farm, have no idea what that's like. They don't know, like maybe in our area, they don't really realize the things that we can provide for our people that are actually in the community versus where their families have come from and stuff. It's different. So how does what we do here pertain to what they're doing and what they're experiencing and so forth? Feel free to jump in on some of this stuff, like with the trees and.
Yeah, so the fruit trees, when me and Mr. Holland met earlier this week, we talked about the fruit fundraiser that we always do. We sold double the items that we did last year, my first year, and we made like $200 more. So in my eyes, like that's becoming, like the kids aren't motivated to do it. Like they're not on the backside, they're just taking around a pamphlet and saying, here, buy something. Whereas I think they'll be a lot more motivated, greenhouse, fruit tree wise. They're doing everything. They're starting from the beginning, starting with the seed. They're growing it. Then they have to do the marketing and everything and get people to come and kind of do the community outreach stuff and talk to people. Which a lot of my kids, that's like their number one thing is, I don't want to talk to people. Otherwise, like, it's fine. But yeah, definitely on that, a lot of opportunities for growth for our kids. Yeah.
The other thing we talked about was we didn't feel comfortable right now on doing any large animals, so we kind of stuck to some small animal things. And obviously these are just ideas. It's just a few of us talking, so we're definitely welcome to other ideas and opportunities. But we were talking about small animals with chickens and rabbits and goats and sheep. We know those are some things that are important to them in 4-H. So we're trying to think about things that are not only applicable at school, but also at home whenever they're doing these types of things at home as well. And then maybe, who knows how many we could get interested in doing that going forward, not just currently doing it, but an interest in starting to do things like this and get involved with our local 4-H. So we just feel like, we have an opportunity to not necessarily mirror what Shoals does, but there's a lot of ways that I feel like that our kids, which is a different demographic, but I feel like our kids could really truly benefit from an opportunity to get started. And then, again, we're welcome to a lot of ideas. And the thing that really impressed me with Shoals was their community involvement and how much is donated. And basically it's a self-sufficient farm that they're dealing with. And that speaks volumes for what they're doing.
Any questions? So I think next steps will be, we're gonna work Mr. Holland and Megan are gonna continue to build on this plan. We're gonna reach out to those of you that are here. What I'm envisioning is probably more of a kind of a community-based committee to help propel what might be possible. I've had some that have offered their own farm as maybe kind of work-based experience. The school district, we have various areas of what I would call undeveloped property that might provide some opportunity for us to maybe build something that could be utilized. But what I'd like to see is for us to basically take this plan and kind of come up with how it's going to be created and a timeline and all that, and see what we can come up with. Maybe, we start small with what can be put into place for next year, and just be a thing where we try to build on it year after year. So that's kind of what I see.
I've got one. So Indiana State, we were up at Terre Haute one day and we're driving down the city block. I don't know if anybody's seen their garden, Indiana State's garden in the middle of town. It's unbelievable. They started small. They bought an empty lot, and their teacher was real passionate about sustainability, but he used agriculture to do that. So he started a garden, and then the university they ended up getting one city block. It's a full garden. It is unbelievable. It's all organic. I've never seen anything like it. I was blown away. And then next to that, they started buying another property, and that became the city garden, where everyone gets a 20 by 20 plot. So city block and city block is Indiana State doing their gardening for the school, teaching sustainability, and then next door is a local community garden where everybody's got their own plots and they work together. So I was walking around waiting to get kicked out, and this guy walks up to me. He's like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "I'm just never seen it like this." And he ended up being the professor, and it was his little dream. And it was amazing. If you can get in contact, I didn't catch his name or nothing, but that was impressive. That shows you that even in the middle of town, the sky's the limit. He found a way to go in the direction that he wanted. And so that's something to look at.
Well, thanks, Ben and Megan, for coming over. We really appreciate it.
And if you guys need anything, I mean, come over and help shoot ideas, or just look over what you got, or whatever. There's no perfect way to do any of this. It just takes a team and a group of people that believe in a cause, and so if you need help with that, phone call away. However we can help.
Thank you.
We need motion to adjourn. Second, all in favor? All right, we're going to adjourn our work session, and we'll start the regular meeting.
I think so. Close
All right.
We had a 50-50 shot. Apparently he can run like this. Yeah, the one that's
I've never been able to do it. Really appreciate it. Yes. Thank you. Yeah.
Sweeten you guys up a little.
Rumble cookies, mine.
I had to pass out a few little children in the lobby, so it's a little,
We're getting leftovers.
it's a little left.
There you go. Rumble cookies.
Probably not. Yeah, I think so. Mike must be bringing in a big change order.
I'll have to go take a walk after we
Straight from the farm. Straight from the farm. Chad brings all the donuts and cupcakes from the building from the meeting.
Something right there.
That's the minutes that I put out, but I was just wondering if Carrie put the claims out. Maybe I didn't. No, it's okay. Yeah, those are the minutes. I put those out, but then Carrie usually puts the claims out here, but I wonder if she, it's okay if not, I'll just have her put it out for next month. Yeah.
The deal is not feasible for this. 15 minutes. You have to have a CDL.
No. Yeah, more than 14 kids.
Do we need
Haven't seen it play.
Most of the money they get.
Hi, how are you? Thank you.
Yeah, not anymore than what.
Break us back up, Ms. Story.
All right.
All right. A little late here. We had to have a short break after our work session, but we'll now call the meeting to order. Let the record show that all members are present with the exception of Mrs. Browning. She was here for our work session. She's got a son in the track meet tonight, so she chose to attend that, which we think is great. At this time, we'll all stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, everyone's been presented with a copy of the minutes to review. Do we have any changes or corrections? If not, we'll let those stand as presented. Who's presenting the claims?
So, I'd like to make a motion to please approve all claims and payroll as submitted.
Have a motion to approve the claims. Do I have a second for Mr. Cornelius? Do we have any questions regarding the claims? If not, all in favor of approval, raise your right hand. 6-0. No donations this month. All right, we'll move right into our information report. Looks like we have a lot of good things to go over tonight.
We'll start off with our staff members of the month, sponsored by the Hadig Injury Law Firm, Mr. Cochran. So Our first staff member to recognize is Meg Hinkle.
I don't think she's here.
Okay. We'll move on to Alicia Hand, who's here. I saw her working. And Mrs. Hand's been recognized by her principal, Mrs. Murphy. Mrs. Murphy writes, to start with, she is simply an all-around great person. She is always asking what she can do to help and is the kind of person who makes others feel valued. She takes the time to truly know the people she works with and always wants you to know that she cares about you and your family. She is also incredibly involved in our school community. She is always willing to serve wherever she is needed. She represents our staff on the PTO committee, serves on the High Ability Committee, participates on the leadership team, and leads collaboration for her team. What truly sets her apart is the relationships she builds. She forms strong connections with her students and their families and goes above and beyond by supporting her students outside of the classroom, even attending their events. She always has a smile on her face and brings a positive presence to our building. She has a special ability to connect with every child. Even when paired with our most challenging students, she creates relationships that leave a lasting impact. Washington Primary is a better place because of her dedication, heart for students, and commitment to our school community. She truly represents the very best of what it means to be a Washington Primary treasure hunter. Congratulations, Alicia. And next, we would like to recognize Mandy Dawson. She's here, and she's on our Sodexo facility team at Washington Upper, and she's been nominated by our facilities director, Graham Giesler. And Graham writes, I am glad to nominate Mandy Dawson as Employee of the Month. As our lead at Upper Elementary, Mandy has risen to the occasion amid significant staff turnover. Mandy has been an anchor, stepping up with extraordinary resilience and showing leadership by training new team members. Mandy is always one to volunteer for events at her building, such as home football games and for large events at the high school. Most recently, she took time out of her weekend to assist at another building needing extra attention. In a year of transition, Mandy has been a constant. She exemplifies Sodexo and WCS values, not just through her work, but through her character. Thank you, Mandy. Next on the information report, we will have Graham Giesler provide a facilities update.
Good evening, everyone. Today, he's my regional manager, and I gave a little presentation to Kevin and Scott. We considered a quarterly business review. We reviewed our annual expectations and just some other happenings going on with Sodexo and our folks. I'll just kind of hop right in here and review our annual expectations meeting. Our annual expectations meeting is a set of goals and deliverables that we try to strive for each year. That's taken place typically every year with Kevin and Carrie. This year, we are focused on our cleaning accountability and consistent quality. So far this year, we've stepped up with our inspections, having Sean on staff and Brooke now as well, doing inspections from our office. She goes out and, ensures things are getting done in the buildings as well, and has those conversations, whether they're positive or negative, with our staff. We're trying to emphasize with our staff their attention to detail and a consistent routine in each of their sections. That's been delivered on, I'd say, more so this year than in years past, and we're seeing really good results from that. We're also introducing, we call it an innovative thinking to staff. I like to think of it as, what would Graham do? What would Sean do? Let's be proactive, preemptive, not reach out to others that, you know, are just as clueless, let's take initiative and do things on our own and manage the problem at hand. With grounds and landscaping, one of our key focuses was to maintain curb appeal. We have a spring readiness plan that we implement every year. We utilize that for softball, baseball, having things set up ready to go so that when the weather breaks and the season starts, kids are able to get out on the fields and participate. We add extra field conditioner earlier in the spring. We're weeding, edging baselines, things like that. Try to stay ahead and get the batter's eye or the backdrops up as soon as possible so that those fields are ready to go. Kids can get on them. They're having their first softball. I think it's just a scrimmage tonight. So those things were ready. They're in place. They're rocking and rolling. And then here recently, we've added new trash receptacles on the exterior of the junior high campus. It was noticed that they were becoming an eyesore, just showing their age, faded, things like that. Scott had a little help in that and might have hit one with a loader while doing snow removal. So
That was free of charge.
it was. But that is an item that Sodexo has donated, and you know, we want to keep that curb appeal up. And you know, it's March. We have a lot of guests from out of town. You know, that's something small that people notice and say, hey, that's sharp, and you know, little things like that to add to the curb appeal. And then as far as maintenance and mechanical systems, we continue to talk to Kevin and Carrie on a regular basis on our systems, the life cycle, the useful life, what equipment's most vital, what needs the most attention, and trying to budget that effectively and plan that ahead of time so we're not, you know, shocked with something that was unplanned. Another focus was maintaining quality staffing levels. Right now, we're just short one full-time employee for our frontline custodial workers. Sodexo has their own in-house recruiting. We post jobs on all online job posting sites, ZipRecruiter, Indeed, LinkedIn. We promote that job, or we have been promoting that job as much as we can. That takes the job to the top of the list when anybody within our zip code, neighboring zip codes search for jobs, or they can also search through our resumes that are online. If they see somebody that fits the job, that message is going out to them and it's going to the top of their list for a job search. In addition, Tori's been posting on social media, on the school social media for us, putting the job posting out. You know, by chance it's a good fit, we can get a parent or family member of a student. We'll accommodate any way we can to get somebody, you know, that has a care and would like to be involved and be a part of the community and help the schools out. We'll collaborate with them as well. We've also been communicating with school stakeholders on building projects and needs. That goes to the athletic department, principals, everyone involved. We meet with them on a regular basis, try to see what their needs are and if there's anything that needs to change. Sean's been pretty vital in that as well. He's in buildings daily and has those face-to-face interactions very often. If we go to page 3, we're also with Kevin and Carrie monitoring our facility-related expenses, having those conversations of, is the maintenance a want or a need, having those discussions with other stakeholders, the athletic department, what's more critical and less critical. We're also utilizing our employees' skill base to further have some cost savings and save some money on projects instead of hiring a contractor out. Again, Sean's here. He can set up, you know, walls, partitions, A key example would be at intermediate this summer down in the offices by the Kiva, throwing up a wall and getting that done. So we're also communicating about future bonding plans and utilizing Sodexo's facility condition assessment. That's something Sodexo offers that is conducted by a professional engineer. He comes in, takes a look at all the assets, the buildings, the mechanical, plumbing, fixtures from top to bottom in a building. That is something that we do free of charge, and I think we utilize pretty well on a regular basis. Just some updates from our custodial side of things. We're in the middle of March Madness in Washington, Indiana, so things are crazy. We've had a lot of shuffling with shifts and things like that to accommodate for those games. Talked about Sean already, but with him and his new role as custodial manager, he's been an asset from day one. He's working on our inspection process, and he's very, very thorough with his conversations with people face to face, discussing, what could be done better, their prioritization, their cleanliness, things like that, as they work throughout the day. We also talked about softball and baseball. Things have been stocked there. They're in place, ready to go for the sports complex. Winterization was undone, and the water's on. Ice is being made, and everything's ready to rock and roll there. Jumped over a couple here. With maintenance, just wanted to reiterate a few things that we've done. The waste receptacles, the band room epoxy project that we managed. We've added some new garage doors at the high school to the storage room on the interior and the exterior. The exterior one was becoming very difficult to open and close. We replaced that, put an electronic opener on it, which is so much easier for everybody in and out of that part of the building every day. And then the exterior one that, I should say the interior door that leads into the hallway in the Hatchet House there was having some issues. The spring was about to go, and it was time for a replacement there. I believe the door was original to the Hatchet House, so that's a pretty well-used product that has met its useful life. The next few pages just kind of show our work orders and our preventative maintenance, what we've gotten done over the last 3 months. You guys can take a look at that. I won't go into that too much. A grounds update. Of course, we were busy with snow removal with the winter storm. We talked about the field work preparation and being ahead there. We put pre-emergent weed control down on all the landscape areas, put a granular down that's hopefully going to kind of curb some of the weeds and grass that might pop through. And as of today, or actually as of yesterday, we began mowing for the season. So it's that time of year again. We have a couple new faces on the next page. On our custodial staff, we have Nick Orchard and Mary Beth Fleck. I'll let you guys read a little further into there. If you see them out and about, say hello, introduce yourself. I'm sure they'd be glad to meet you. Just a few other notes on our talent and retention and trying to keep our employees that we have so we do not have these vacancies as often. We've implemented a safety bingo program that helps us on our safety side of things. It gets our employees looking a little deeper into near misses, proactives, things that can be shared across the district with other custodians. If they get a bingo, they're going to win some sort of prize that's yet to be determined. So it'll be something of, I'd say, significant value or something pretty good that they can kind of hang their hat on. We celebrated National Employee Appreciation Day last week. Everybody got a goodie bag. We talked about our company Christmas party there as well. We talked about our only vacancy. One other requisition we have open is a night shift supervisor position. That is something that we had in the past that kind of just got absorbed into a part-time role and a full-time role at the high school. Just this basketball season, we're seeing a need that we really need a point of contact for events at the high school in the evenings. That's somewhere where I feel like we lapse, and this person would head that. They'd also be the point of contact for the other buildings when they're having issues in the evenings. It's someone on site that knows how to reset fire alarms, things like that come up in the evenings, and that kind of keeps Clan Travis from having to run to the buildings at all hours of the night. So, and then our ground staff, we're currently fully staffed there as well. I wanted to make one other note with Paula and Steve Thomas. They've been longtime employees here for the school district before Sodexo took over. And then they both have worked for us, I think, for 5 years. Steve retired last year, but they had a fire. It's been a month ago now, I guess. But Sodexo has a disaster relief fund. It's often utilized for hurricanes, tornadoes, things like that. We went ahead and filed Paula and Steve with their fire, and Sodexo has awarded them a nice sum of money. So I'm really pleased to, share that. And, it's not just a job, their family, we care about them. That's, us kind of trying to show that, you're just more than a worker, you're a part of our family. So I'm really pleased to announce that, and happy we can do that for them. Other than that, I'll keep it as short as I could here, but if you guys have any questions for me, I'm all ears, and most of you have my number. If you've got anything, feel free to reach out as well.
Might check out the softball scoreboard. It may have been user error tonight, but it wasn't working.
It worked this afternoon, and then Larry called and said, now it's not working. So
I don't know what was, like I said, it may have been user error, but
Travis ran down there too, but we have power to it, so I think it's on the controller.
I didn't know if you knew.
Yeah.
So, but thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you, guys.
Appreciate that.
Good job. We're gonna keep it on the kind of topic of facilities, and we'll have Mike Holtkamp with Hagerman give the primary construction update.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, board, and everyone here. So, past 30 days, a lot of good things have been happening on the primary for the design build project. Obviously, we continue to have our construction meetings. We put temporary fence up. We changed the traffic flow. This is Murphy, and we started groundbreaking officially. We started the site demo, and we were working on the building pad. So, good things. The design team, we're up to addendum 4 with clarifications and updates accordingly. And that last one included what we talked about with the health office changes. We're still working on our permit. We did apply to the state of Indiana for the state design release. They had some comments. The design team's working with their code consultants to get those things resolved as of this afternoon. That was still ongoing. But we need that state design release to get our improvement location permit and our building permit. And then talking with Mr. Casper, the state will assign an inspector. So we'll be right there, hopefully with the building pad, and we'll have that so we can put footings in the ground. Let's see, continue to assist with any land things. So some of that was current activities that I mentioned there. And we need to get the fence around the playground. We need to get that graded. The dish machine goes in over spring break, the replacement of that, so that's good. And the most important thing we've been working on is getting all the pricing. So we've gotten some bids in. We've awarded, obviously, Don Gress for the excavation, Site Concrete, Sisson Steel for the steel, C&T Design for the food service, Central Indiana for the door hardware. But a lot of the other scope, some came in yesterday, some came in today. I got a few more coming in early next week, so I'll be able to really know where we're at. But we're moving. And then we'll get those alternates so we can share those with you, like we've been talking about. Let's see, what else do I have on here? I have some pictures. There's some progress there. I can go over those too, if you want. That was a day or so ago, the proof roll on the building pad. We did do some clearing of where the radio tower land we purchased, so we can put the fence up. And we've had conversations with Randy, with the electric company, and how he wants to kind of redo the power poles to the radio tower property. So really good things. What's really new? Coming up, again, getting the bidding, the pricing, getting all the subs so we can get everything ordered. Any questions for me?
Mike, you feel like by the next meeting, we'll have a pretty good handle on most of our costs and what can start to becoming conversations, hopefully, alternates.
Yes, we will.
Sounds good.
Mike, what was some of the comments that you got there for the state design release?
So, yeah, so those went to the architect. I can't say that I read every one of them. Some of them was really, how would I say this? An interpretation of the code, of how they've designed the building. And Courtney said that they resent them the code layout drawing that they use. So I can't really answer. I don't really know. But I think I would say it's probably getting whoever's reviewing it thoroughly understanding of their design.
It wasn't a question of the site per se versus like verbiage on what they were presented, if I'm hearing you right.
I think, I can't honestly answer because I didn't read every one of the questions, but the couple I scanned were things that I think with them explaining where they have that information on the drawings will help that person that's reviewing it say, oh, I see you have it over here on this drawing. I just hadn't seen that yet. I think it'll be a lot of that. I don't expect anything big, but we're not through the gate yet. Mr. Frank, you might have been copied on that too, of whatever they had, so. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Appreciate it.
I got a question, and they laugh at me, but I am serious. So we've broken ground. At a point, for the purpose of history of the schools, are we going to get the superintendent and the board president and the principal and Mike there in the groundbreaking hard hat? I mean, is that been discussed all about planning? I'm just trying to think back about.
I think the last time we did it with Patrick Hollow, it was just get out of the way, we gotta go.
Yeah.
We never really thought about it in that light. Something you probably normally do a lot of places, isn't it, Mike?
I'd say it's probably 50-50. Every new project, definitely, and then at the end, there's a ribbon cutting or some kind of ceremony. I'm happy to help set that all up. If you guys want to think about a date and time, I'm happy to.
I just, for the history of the schools, I mean, I think back when I was at Lena Dunn, there was a picture there with Miss Lena Dunn and some of the board members or the superintendent stuff, just as a marking of the moment, so to speak.
Sure. Maybe we can discuss that at our next meeting after spring.
Yeah.
Just doing something that week with some of us out there.
An opportunity for the newspaper to do an article too.
Yeah.
Let me know what, some may not know what we're doing.
And
We're
something
doing
that
anything.
Tori and Kristen and I have talked about, we're gonna do like a bi-weekly, might start off monthly, like a short 2 to 3 minute video update that we'll put out on YouTube and just give brief updates on project and progress so that people can follow along that with it.
Great. All right. What we got next?
Next, let's have Mr. Chapman and Mr. Holland. They're going to share a little bit about something they've been working on with expanding the number of high school credit courses at the junior high, and they're gonna explain their why with all of that. But we wanted to start with the board presentation, and then they're pushing information out because some of this is going to happen
Right, currently happening, yeah. So you guys have heard information on this before, but the state of Indiana has redone the pathway system for diplomas and kind of really revamped what is expected and what is required of students to graduate high school in the state of Indiana with kind of some of the upcoming cohorts. And so Mr. Holland and myself have been kind of working through what our kids need to graduate, because they've got all these wonderful opportunities in this pathway system, all these elective courses, some of the things that, Shoals talked about, and some of the microelectronics and different things, all these wonderful things. But at the core of that, we're trying to make sure those required classes are taken to get them into a lot of those things, because you got to make sure a lot of those things are done in those freshman and sophomore formative years. So those juniors and senior years, they're out doing a lot of those experiences. And if you miss something in the beginning there, then maybe you miss an opportunity at a later date because they got to be in for one of their core required classes. So as we were kind of reviewing and bridging from the old diploma system to the new diploma system, we kind of sat down and prioritized what are some classes that the junior high could pick up for high school credit. And it started out by reviewing a list of what all other middle schools in the area and around the state are offering at the middle school level, and taking a look at that list. And then we sat down and decided, okay, what is feasible? What are we comfortable with? Kind of realizing that middle school is not high school, but how can we maybe be on the same page with some of our other cohorts around the state, but then also benefit and bridge the gap to the high school setting. And so a couple of the classes that we've identified, starting with health. Health is a traditional class taught at sophomore level in high school. We are moving it down to the 8th grade level. We already offer health to both 7th and 8th grade courses. So in terms of that class being taught, it takes very little change in our schedule. In fact, zero change in our schedule. It's just a matter of coding that as high school credit and making some slight adjustments to the curriculum, like adding CPR to it. And so we decided that was a good move because we got to add a class at the high school that's going to be a required course that we're currently not offering at all up at that level. And then the second one was physical education. We teach PE in 7th and 8th grade. Every kid takes it for the most part. And so it's, once again, something that we're already offering and already teaching. And so we're going to start offering 8th grade students high school credit for physical education. So those are kind of the main two additions that are going to be added to our slate that go along with Algebra 1, College and Careers, and the new one that is kind of a new class by the state is Computer Foundations of a Digital Age. It's got a really long name. It's a brand new class that the state is now requiring for every student to take to graduate high school. And it's really new last year into this year. And so we were kind of figuring out how to make that work. And we started offering that class this year through the junior high, but we can't offer it to every student just based on the amount of faculty we have. But we can get about 2/3 of the students. And so that leaves about 1/3 of the students for Mr. Holland to kind of transition and figure that out at the high school. So the goal is to kind of hit some of those required courses that aren't necessarily huge parts of pathway programs so that kids can have a little bit more choice and bridge the gap into some of those other required things that they're going to have to meet, like work-based learning and other items like that related to their pathway system. So we're adding basically two high school credits to our junior high course load, starting this semester with health, and then starting next semester with health and PE. And then Algebra 1 is currently being offered, and the Digital Foundations class is currently being offered and will continue to be offered into next year.
Yeah. One of the things I want to point out is we're currently on 3 diploma tracks right now. So our juniors and seniors are on what we call our traditional core 40. Our sophomores are on kind of the core 40, but they have to have personal finance added to that mix. That's the first year that that's implemented with our sophomore group. And they'll get that. Some may get it their junior year, but everybody by their senior year will get that course. We're replacing econ with that class. And then freshmen on down will all be on their new diploma. And one of the things we have to understand on our new diploma, it's one diploma. Okay, we no longer have the academic honors. We don't have the technical honors and in that stuff. We have one diploma, but there's SILs. these SILs, the honors SILs and honors plus SILs, are very important for our students. We're going to try to get every one of our kids one of those SILs. Traditional thinking is thinking that you need to get an honors SIL is I've got to be high academic. We got to get away from that. It's not high academic. It's about your experiences now. So now it's about hands-on experiences, not just in the classroom, but also in the community, or maybe not community, but our partnerships with places like Westgate, up at Crane, different things like that. We have to get these kids experiences there. Every kid, not just kids that drive, not just this kid or that kid, it's every kid in our system. So how do we do that? Well, first off, we have to start looking at their junior, senior year. Junior, senior year, their schedule starts opening up a little bit, but if they don't take care of business their freshman and sophomore year, that schedule's closed. They don't have that opportunity because they got to get more credits now. It used to be 40. Now they have to get 41. Some, depending on what SIL they're getting, could be up to 47 credits. So we got to take care of business early on. So we got to start getting some of these credits 7th and 8th grade year in order to help them understand that freshman, sophomore year is vital to get these classes passed for those opportunities junior, senior year. Okay. And that does reallocate shifting with some of our staff and what they're offering in their course load. And we have been talking about what that's going to look like long term. Short term, it's minimal effect. Long term, it's kind of going to depend on where things land and what we do. You know, right now we're envisioning about a third of the students not getting that digital computer class. How do we make up for it? Well, if we're teaching health in the junior high, now our health teacher is going to pick that up and start teaching it, because you don't have to have a specific license to teach this class. So literally, as long as if someone's licensed to teach it, they can teach it. So, or licensed to teach, they can teach this course. So these are the types of things outside of the box that we now have to start thinking about. We looked at what other school districts are doing, especially, you know, we're part of the SIEC network. And when we see some of the questions that have been put out about what are other schools doing with junior high credit for high school, it is unfathomable that some of these kids could come with us with double-digit credits before they even start high school. We don't want to go that route yet because we feel like some of these things still need to be taught at the high school level. But that's the type of thinking that not only our school district, but other school districts are already doing because of staffing and then accommodating to get these kids those opportunities of junior, senior year.
Balancing, you know, the maturity of a high school class versus the maturity of a middle school kid, and just kind of taking that into account. So that's definitely not something I'm intending, is to run every high school class down to junior high level, but choosing a few that we can help accommodate and help kids get into the pathways and stay on courses and kind of being strategic. And it also does play into our accountability system. The state released a new accountability system in terms of A, B, C, D, and F. And part of that, and on the junior high level, is we get points towards our accountability, towards our letter grade, for offering high school credits to 8th graders. So doing this also is kind of a strategic move on my part to help earn those points towards our accountability, because I think that'll eventually be helpful, kind of get that seal, you know, whatever our letter grade ends up being. So just kind of doing that part to help in that way as well. And that's always a part of the strategy we're trying to do what's best for kids, but also do what little things we can in that way to kind of get the big picture taken care of.
I'm yakking again. At one point here, you can laugh at it, I know. The PE credit to help open things up in schedule a few years ago, if you were involved in an athletic event, is that still an option?
Yeah. So,
yes.
So you can do traditional PE, which is what they're going to offer in junior high. You can do athletics, you can do marching band, and then you can do one of the show choirs that we have. Those qualify. The other qualifier is ROTC, but they have to complete a minimum of 2 years in order to get the ROTC PE credit. So if they do those, they qualify for a PE credit. And if they're an athlete and they finish a season, it doesn't matter what level, whether it's freshman, team, JV, or varsity, but if they start and finish the season, then that qualifies. But they have a little bit of work with the athletic department that they have to complete for our guidance department to recognize it. So there's multiple ways of doing it, and we're also offering that strength and conditioning class, which also qualifies as that PE credit too. The state has reduced PE, so instead of a full year, now it's 1 semester. So we no longer do a full year PE, it's just a 1 semester PE going forward.
And it's the thing about that too is, I mean, that meets a lot of kids at our school. A lot of kids are involved in things. Adding it here kind of gets the rest of them, and they just get basically an extra X credit on their diploma. It's not going to hurt them in any way, shape, or form in that way. And doing this as well, it kind of frees up what we see as more strength and conditioning courses up at the high school that they can take elective PE and add to it. So I think our goal is to have a strength and conditioning class period every class period. So no matter where you're at, athlete at school, you can get placed in a strength and conditioning. Whereas now we're limited, maybe it's 4th, 5th, and 7th period, and then we have a bonus one in the morning. Through doing this and offering this in junior high, we should be able to offer it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe not 5, depending on gym availability. So that was kind of also as well, knowing we want to have that as a more of an offering for all of our athletes that maybe can't fit it into that specific time.
And the next question I have then is, it's going to help you by bringing them down on the scoreboard. Will it have a negative impact if they're covering the classes through junior high? Is it going to have any kind of negative impact on your scoreboard at the high school level?
We talked about that. In what we're looking at is we have to get away from our traditional thinking of what assignments are for teachers and stuff, because what we're looking at with that junior, senior year are experiences, and we've got to have people that's got to help with that. A lot of calling, placing, kind of going back to our pathway initiative that we're currently having. I think that ties into what we're looking at that junior, senior year. So I feel like we're going to be okay.
The one thing that I was going to add to that is, and I'm still kind of studying myself the new accountability model, but I think it kind of goes back to what you guys talked about, was the whole kind of philosophy behind this is to help get kids more into work-based. And I think that's at the high school, the accountability model is going to reward us. The more we can get kids those work-based experiences.
Yeah. So if your question is like in terms of his grade card for accountability, is that what you're focusing on? Yeah. No, it's going to free up to be able to meet his requirements and to be able to meet those work-based learning. So it's a positive in terms of the accountability on both ends.
And I think what it really does, it does now allow us to focus on all students and not just a group. And we'll be able to fit things into every kid's schedule now. We'll have that flexibility to do it. Where right now, unless we add additional staffing, classrooms, things like that, it just isn't feasible.
And the third thing, looking at the chart here, under the science is CTE. I'm looking at $300 per student additional funding. Is that an unfunded mandate we're just going to have to pay for out of our pocket locally, or is that?
No, that's money to us. That's not money we pay. We get money from the Perkins grant gives us money for CTE classes.
So that's a strategic move to just potentially generate more internal revenue. Like if we slide that one class down and transition that to a CTE course, then we get $300 per student. And they've just this year added that to be able to be taken at the 8th grade level and still get the funding. So that was a move on my part to try to potentially generate some.
And which course would that be? Like who's teaching that now?
Lisa Dillon's teaching that now. Okay. Yeah, Lisa Dillon's teaching that now. So she's teaching the Computer Foundations of a Digital Age because it's now the required course. And that is the one we're going to shift down to 7th grade, targeting the idea that we could get some additional funding in that way. Trying to, realizing that we're having needs of having to change the accountability model, add in some credits. We're like anybody, we're tight on our pennies across the board. What can I do to be strategic in my way? And that was one thing that we picked out. That's a possibility that we think is a good idea to look at executing in the future, which is why I put it on there.
Well, I said additional. I didn't even.
No, we don't pay for it. We get the money. Yeah. So that's why if we had to pay for it, it wouldn't be feasible. But we get the money, so it's a bonus.
I've used up all my questions.
And the idea behind what the CTE funding from the state standpoint is like those are the types of courses that sometimes require special equipment and supplies and computer science. You might have that electronic equipment. And so that's why you're getting more money from the state for those courses.
Like I said, I just wanted to clarify. in my mind, is this an expense that you,
Yeah.
what is it gonna be? So it's an additional.
revenue.
I don't necessarily think it's a big deal, but I feel like maybe my kid's got a BU credit for taking PE in school or something. So is that still a thing, or is that not a thing anymore, or how does that affect when you roll that down to the?
I'm not aware of a dual credit PE.
Maybe they just took it over.
Unless they took it through VU distance wise. I don't think anything that we do in our PE department right now is dual credit at this point. I do know that we have had talks about adding some of our additional courses. We could be looking at possibly increasing dual credit. I don't know what that looks like yet because again, this new stuff that's out is so new. We just are just trying to put our heads around all the different opportunities that we can do or have. And I think that our dual credit numbers will go up. I mean, they're already skyrocketing, but I think they can go up even more with this opportunity now. And we've had a great partnership with Vincennes University, and we want to continue that partnership. But we also established a good partnership with Ivy Tech as well on credentialing our teachers, and that's been our big hurdle with Vincennes, is getting teachers credentialed. So we always try to get through Vincennes University, and if something happens, and we look into another option. And right now, we've been very successful with Ivy Tech out of Evansville.
I think it's one of the great things we had. I mean, I've had 2 kids go to Purdue as sophomores because they had so much credit when they left Washington High School. That's a big deal.
Saves a lot of money.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
Yep.
Thank you.
And the final information report item, Dr. Peterson has some information on the Ed Flex reader.
All right, so this will be very quick. The federal grants allow an application of what they call Ed Flex waiver. Basically, it allows us to carry more funds over from last year's grant into this year's. It is an annual thing. We did it this time last year, the March. And I guess good news, bad news. We weren't able to spend everything that we carried over, so we get to do a carryover again for the extra. It's not as much as what it was last time, because we are spending it, but so we need to get this on the agenda. So it's on the agenda, and if anybody has any questions, I have to say I gave the board a chance to ask questions. Does anybody have any questions?
I don't think I do.
Good.
So that ends our information report. All right. Do we have anybody speak tonight on the agenda topic? All right, we'll move right into personnel. No retirements, so resignations.
Resignation, you would like to recommend the board accepts the resignations of Angela Varner, high school English teacher, Allison Yoakum, high school counselor, and Hallie Browning, elementary teacher.
Okay, I have a recommendation to approve these 3 resignations. So I have a motion for that from Mr. Elmer, second from Mr. Miller. Anyone have any questions regarding resignations? If not, all in favor of approval? 6-0. Leaves.
I'd like to recommend the board approve the leave of absence request from Emily Shake for August 4th through October 30th to the start of next week.
A recommendation to approve this leave. Have a motion for that. Mr. Cornelius, second from Mr. Miller. Any questions on the leave? Not all in favor? 6-0. Appointments.
I'd like to recommend the board approve the hire of Jeremy Adams as career coach, Riley Reed as primary library assistant, and Tanya Ibarra as elementary aide.
Okay, I have a recommendation to approve these 3 appointments. Have a motion for that. Mr. McCormick, second from Mr. Miller. Want to have any questions on the appointments?
With the primary.
Yeah.
I think I would comment that the hiring of Jeremy Adams, that's through our ROI grant.
This is a ROI grant funded funded position, and it will only exist while we have the grant, which is for the rest of this year in the 26, 27 school year.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. No other questions, all in favor? 6-0. No ECAs this month?
It's
Kidding me?
it's surprising, but somehow we've
I think we got them all.
got all the spots currently filled.
Yeah.
All right, wonderful, wonderful. No other, no other, no old business?
No old business.
Right into new business. Like we got a band trip to approve.
Yeah, we'd like to recommend the board approve the request for an out-of-state trip by the Washington Winds. It'll be an overnight trip to Dayton, Ohio for their Worlds competition. Was this year 3?
Yes, they're here with made the trip. Yeah. I have a recommendation to approve the Washington Winds trip. Do I have a motion for that? Mr. Romer, second from Mr. Miller. If I have any questions, you go and I can tell you all about it. All in favor? 6-0. Hatchet dance team.
I'm requesting the board post approve the Hatchet Dance trip that happened last weekend. It kind of slipped through, and I think it's a little bit of a new situation where they haven't always gone to state, and then they realized with the schedule of the state dance competition, it's up at the Indiana State Fairgrounds. They had to be up there early Saturday morning. So Mr. Holland and I looked at that and approved it, sent that out to you in the memo. And what we will work on next year is for them just to send out a trip request for the possible trips. You know, I think it's a thing where they may not make it to state, but our dance team's done really well, and they probably put themselves up to be a program that can get to state every year. So again, asking for your approval after the fact on this one so that we can have it in our board meeting minutes.
All right, have a motion to approve the dance team trip. Motion for that, Mr. Cornelius, second, Mr. Cornelius. Anybody have any questions? All in favor?
First and second.
Huh?
You think that?
First and second.
Oh, I looked at Mr. McCormick and said Mr. Cornelius. That's pretty good.
Yeah, we look like.
You gotta be
White hair.
talented to do that.
Little white hair.
Yeah. Get that straight?
I got it.
All right, perfect. Yeah, I was gonna mess something up. All right. Did we vote? We voted. We're all getting it.
6-0.
Social media resolution.
So I'm recommending that the board approve the social media resolution, which is basically us joining litigation with other schools across the nation against social media companies. So this is something that I think's been percolating for a couple of years. About a month ago, we're members of the Indiana Rural Schools Association, and the director sent out an email just alerting members that the time to join this is closing. He recommended that districts take advantage of this opportunity. Over 100 school districts in Indiana have already joined. I looked through the information, and I'm giving the recommendation on a professional and personal level. I've seen it with my own 2 children that are in college now, but as they've grown up and, you know, with these things in hand and the various apps, social media apps that are on there, I, you know, have seen it here as a school administrator and have talked with the principals, and just the conflict and the drama that is created between the kids through these apps. And, you know, essentially what the litigation is saying, that the social media companies took advantage of designing these things and creating and really leaning or taking advantage of the addictive aspects of the tool, of the app, and not really thinking through some of that. And then what's happened is I think back across, you know, the last 10, 15 years, and I think about what we deal with in schools. There's a huge mental health issue that has been created. We've added social workers over the last 15, 20 years. You know, the Youth First partnership has really been key to that, and that costs money. And you know, if we were successful as a member of this litigation towards those companies, what I've been told is we could receive, you know, they've compared it to a similar lawsuit against the vape companies that schools were a part of here a few years ago. And the payout on that was like a few $1,000s paid out every year over like a 5-year span. And so in my mind, if we were able to obtain that sort of funding, to me, it would go straight towards Youth First and helping us to pay the resources that we have in place to help kids that are going through issues, and so that's why I bring that to the board today to approve the resolution, which is basically what we have to have approved by the board, and then we'll send that to the attorneys that are organizing this lawsuit.
All right. Have a recommendation to approve the social media resolution. Have a motion for that, Mr. Bennett. Mr. McCormick. Do I have any further questions on the social media resolution?
I got a comment. I did struggle with that, and I did have a fairly long conversation with Mr. Frank about it on joining the lawsuit. But as I talked to him, he kind of eased my mind also in knowing that we won't be out anything in this issue, financial wise. Whatever the lawyers may get will come out of the money that we would be getting anyway. So that set a little ease with me. I just want to say that.
So it's kind of like a class action lawsuit with joining.
It's a class action lawsuit, but they said once there's a settlement, each settlement will be presented to each school district individually, and you can choose to accept or choose to continue to fight for more. It sounded like with the last one with the vapes, most just accepted what was presented initially and moved on. So
Basically, other than approving this resolution, we're not. This is the bulk of our work.
this is the bulk of our work, and as I told Gary, this is one of those things where we'll approve this resolution and we may not hear anything for 2 or 3 years. So it's just, you know, I wouldn't expect any kind of quick turnaround in seeing anything, so.
All right. Anything else? All in favor of approval? 6-0. Okay. Moratorium dates.
I would like to present the following dates that Mr. Cochran has provided to me. Give you a little bit of background story on why they are presented the way they are. It's not 2 complete weeks. So, you know, this is the 3rd year that we've done this. IHSAA has a required week that the entire state recognizes, and that's the June 29th to July 3rd. And something that we've adopted as a school board and as a school district, just with the mindset that, you know, I think several of you are parents or grandparents and kind of know what our kids and families are called to do with the commitment made to be a part of an athletic team, and just recognizing that, we believe that we need to provide that 2nd week that we recognize. So what Larry's presented to us here for your approval is to do 4 days, June 22nd to 25th. Now, that's Monday through Thursday. There's a big basketball tournament up in Indianapolis. I think it's called the Charlie Hughes Basketball Tournament that our boys basketball team has participated in for several years. We are making the assumption that our new basketball coach will want to participate in that and take the team up there. It's like a Friday, Saturday deal where they get like 4 or 5 games in, and then that would conclude their summer activities. So they get 10 days in. We would add July 6th, which essentially provides for a long weekend of 4th of July weekend. Larry tells me that he's talked with his varsity fall head coaches, like the volleyball coach and football coach and soccer coaches. And they're fine with basically losing that day to remain, with no practices or activities on July 6th.
So that June 26th, will the facilities be closed or will they be opened up?
On that Friday, I mean, I guess we could have them open. Graham, how would any of the gym work? Like, how do you guys utilize these dates? That would be the only things, if anything's happening.
Floor refinishing's critical during this time, and just overall gym maintenance, that's our week or two now.
So I would say we'll probably be closed for those 2 weeks.
Yeah, I would
Just make
say,
an exception for the
Just for them to go up and
road
down.
trip.
Yeah. And, you know, Larry says that he's gonna, you know, present that if somebody wants to do their vacation that week into that weekend, and they're gonna miss the basketball tournament, and nothing should be held against them or anything, but just for those that wanna go to this Indianapolis tournament, they want to create that Friday to do that.
I don't remember, I know Larry mentioned it to me, but they changed the date on that tournament this year. It's usually a week earlier.
I think so.
So hopefully this is a 1-year deal and maybe we won't see this again. I do.
I don't like to split up at the time. I prefer to go the whole full 2 weeks for people. I mean, the athletics are year round anyway, and I really think the 2 weeks needs to go like this kind of month on that.
So,
Is it gonna be, Larry's already talked to me, I guess, but everybody else is moratorium except for the boys basketball team, or no?
I think that's basically
That's kinda how he worded it.
what it would come down to.
okay. And I guess on the bright side of that, I do see that, you know, July 4th is on a weekend, so that gives the, an extra day of that weekend for the kids for that to come back.
I mean, yeah, just the state one's the June 29th to July 3rd. The other dates are the ones that we're adding on.
Right. I think there was talk at one point that the state may be going to that, but obviously they haven't yet. That would be nice to see, because then there would be issues like this, because I don't see anybody trying to schedule a basketball tournament during moratorium week. So maybe a little comment to get here, but that's an I just added that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a recommendation to approve these dates presented by Mr. Cochran. Do we have a motion? Mr. McCormick, do we have a second? Mr. Miller? Any other discussion or questions? If not, all in favor of approval? Okay, 5, all opposed? Same sign? Okay, motion passed 5-1. All right, do we have any other? Do anybody wants to talk about non-agenda?
No.
All right, moving on to information items.
Information items, first, our regular board meeting in April, it's gonna come around quick because April starts on a Wednesday. So that third Thursday, April 16th, will be at 7 o'clock. And then we don't have it on there, but would like to propose we have an executive session that same evening at approximately 7:45 for the topic to discuss with the Sodexo management team contract options for the next year. And that would be part of, that can be done in executive as contract negotiations. But that would occur after the regular board meeting. Like I said, I'll try to keep the information report shorter next month. I think we could get that one started about 7:45.
And we met with Grant, talked with his regional guy, you know, we have some concerns and we want to hear their presentation about their thoughts for our new contract starting in July. And we've done just like the work session we just had earlier, you know, I don't feel like that's a topic that we need to rush through trying to get done to start a board meeting at 7. So with y'all's approval, and everybody's kind of busy in the summer, so starting at 6 is, or springtime, that's a little less attractive. So we thought maybe we'd try that at 7:45 if that works for everyone. All right.
Well, other thing I would say, I mean, there's a lot of great things going on. You know, we've got, I think, a couple dads that have members of the choir. It was awesome to see what they were able to accomplish, and you guys can share probably more detail, but I believe they got third in state with the
Not
choir.
state, they didn't, state for the coming state, they didn't make state.
Okay,
So they got third in the regional.
in a regional. But that still sounds really good, and I think just speaks to the strength. You know, our band program gets a lot of media and just being at the athletic events and things, and they're doing well. They're going to state this weekend.
Saturday night.
So just really proud of what we have that we offer to our students in terms of music between the two programs, choir and band. Mr. Burris and Mr. Griffith just are huge assets to the school district with what they provide. And the other mention would be that we have the big first robotics competition coming to the Hatchet House, April 3rd and 4th, I believe. So put that on your calendars and make sure you come by and check that one out.
Yeah. Big regional. I do want to give, maybe should have said something earlier when you were up, Graham, but there's been some big crowds at the Hatchet House the last 2 weeks. We'll have another one Saturday. I think our staff from Sodexo, our athletic department, just does a phenomenal job putting events like that on. There's a reason we get those kind of events. It's because of the job those folks do and the draw to our community, the people you see in town. I think that's it's a great thing, and I'm very proud of Washington Community Schools for being able to do things like that. I'd also like to compliment Coach Miles and the girls team on the DSI event they had last night. That's always a great thing to see and be a part of. I don't know, would almost consider that an outreach that we do as a school system, and raises a lot of money for those folks. And there was a lot of smiles in that building last night. And that's always great to see. Appreciate them putting that on. Anybody else have anything? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn from Mr. Hendrick, second from Mr. Elman. All in favor? 6-0, meeting adjourned. Thank you, guys.